fact that industry is returning to cities is a result of much larger forces and the transformation of our economy into a digital economy, which will allow industry to move almost anywhere and to occupy almost any kind of space. We could assemble a car in this room. Okay, yeah, we could print all the pieces of the automobile right here. MIT has the equipment, and just assemble a car. We don't need an assembly plant anymore. And the same is true in industry after industry after industry. So it's not the production that is so difficult. It is the people who are important. The people are the asset. And along with the industry, people are moving back into cities. And when you look at that and where the innovation is occurring, you realize that innovation and production are place-based. They occur in places. They don't occur in a vacuum. They don't occur on the internet. They occur in a place. And the kind of places that are emerging as centers of production now include housing. They include social space. They include lots of coffee. They include a mix of industries and research that are all clustered together. And there are various names for this. We called them, when we first started studying this in the early 2000s, we called them New Century Cities because we didn't have a name. Now they're being called innovation districts, but I like to think of these places as productive neighborhoods. So let me give you some examples. MIT and its community is a perfect example, and one of the classic examples where you have a university that produced faculty and students who generated companies. A university helped them to move nearby. We have an institution called Matimco, which has bought property and facilitated the development of the district. And as you know, we're sitting in it. It includes residential. Increasingly, we have more restaurants and other kinds of activities that make it almost like a neighborhood. And we're about to get a lot more housing. This is new. Okay, this is a new kind of urban district. But they aren't just happening next to universities. I'm working and have been working for many years in Seoul, on the Seoul Digital Media City. It was built on the largest, the largest dump in Asia, 2 miles long, hundreds of feet high. And it was all reclaimed. It turned into a park, and then the kind of outflow of the landfill was developed as a media city. And this has been going on for 8 years or so. There's now 20,000 people living there, 50,000 industries, 50,000 people employed, 5,000 startup companies. And it's really transformed or enabled Korea to transform into a real media focus. It's probably the largest media cluster in that part of the world, including China. So these new industries are very powerful forces in the city. I've planned them in Colombia, in Medellin, where we're looking for diversified sets of industries. In Guadalajara, Mexico, is another media industry that's in the historic center of the city. The only way is to transfer into a 21st century economy, and that comes with education. And maybe we can develop a technology that helps us to clean coal, but I don't think that's the most efficient path to the future for those areas. What you would have to do, what is needed, in my opinion, is to go to these places, find out what the assets are of people who live there, and then try to build an industry cluster around those assets. And you can't run and operate a sophisticated, modern coal mining operation without a huge number of people with a lot of skills. And so where do we put those skills to work? And what is great, I think, or interesting about this new digital economy is that just because you're located in the outback of West Virginia, or in Israel, or in Sicily, doesn't mean you can't access the highest quality, most sophisticated tools that are available, digital tools, instantly and for not much money. So the issue is, how are we going to start up a new set of industries in that area? And that's no different than what we're doing here at MIT. We are constantly looking for ways of starting up new kinds of industries using technology. It's the same exact process. In the past, we thought of the city has to do the housing, for example, or industry is only going to build factories. But industry today has to be directly engaged with education, or there aren't going to be enough people to fill those jobs. And so we're finding more and more that industries are getting involved, for example, with education. Developers are getting involved not only with housing, but also social space. And there's a kind of mixing together of these traditional lines between public and private. So yes, I began by working for cities and towns and developers independently, but now it's a much more integrated process. And actually, the private sector can provide and is providing a lot of things that the public sector used to provide, believe it or not, because the public sector doesn't have the resources that it used to have. At the same time, the public sector has an overview of a situation and can define a vision and can work with the people who live there. So the roles are changing, but they're definitely intertwined.